In this episode of Low Earth Orbit, we review City Skylines. Right. So on this episode of Low Earth Orbit, we're reviewing City Skylines. It's developed by a company called Colossal Order, founded in 2009. They had some previous experience building cities games with Cities in Motion in 2011. It was a transport simulation game. And the timing sort of worked out that SimCity, the latest one, came out in 2013. And actually, as Maxis was shutting down, Colossal Order kind of took their experience building Cities in Motion and kind of picked up the baton from Maxis to go and build City Skylines.
Not officially.
Not officially, but
more of a spiritual.
Yeah, so exactly. And there's an expansion that came out in September called After Dark. So if you're familiar with SimCity, it's kind of the same idea. It's a city simulation. You can, you have all the usual things, roads, and you zone different, residential, industrial, and commercial. And there's some small differences, like you get office zoning here, which is not something you do in SimCity. But in general, it's just another kind of play on the same idea that SimCity has. And so, given that we recently reviewed the latest SimCity, we thought we would review City Skylines recently in
2 years
Low Earth
ago.
Orbit time. It felt like yesterday.
Episode 3, maybe?
I think it was, yeah. So we thought we'd check this one out. Scott, what did you think?
I think I have. I checked on Steam. I'm pretty sure I've played this for 45 hours.
Oh wow!
This year. So
how long have you had it?
I got it when it came out. So so I saw some early Let's Play videos on YouTube. Yeah. I was like, oh, this actually might be good. And so I grabbed it, and it was actually only, I think it's like $30 or something like that. So it was actually less than.
It's on sale right now, but probably won't be by the time somebody watches this. But yeah.
Yeah. So I watched the playthroughs, and I was like, I think it seems like this unattainable thing to build something like SimCity, because just this scope is just infinite almost, right? Like there's just so much you have to take into account. But they had experience with these other, simulators that were sort of vaguely in the same area. So it was like, no, maybe they actually figured this out. So I downloaded it when it came out, and I was like instantly hooked. Like I was, within a week, it was like I was like playing, and when I wasn't playing, I was thinking about playing, and like there are some like, I would argue that it's actually quite different from SimCity the further in that you get. Like on the surface level, the concepts are the same. You've got commercial, industrial, and residential, and you're trying to raise your population, you get more stuff unlocked, all that. But I think once you get beyond those preliminaries, it's actually way different. So I think like they take the transportation aspect way more seriously than they do in SimCity, and it's like there's many more modes of transportation, or maybe not like they have the same constituent parts, but like I think it's much more sophisticated.
Absolutely.
So they like to
the point even where like in City Skylines you can like trace bus routes.
Yeah. Like
you define the bus routes.
Yeah,
it's not like you just build bus depots and like let the game it just does whatever. It's like no. You got to draw them out.
Yeah.
And like you can watch the buses like go through them and get stuck in traffic and like all this stuff.
Yeah. So you draw the bus routes, you draw the metro routes, all that kind of stuff. It's very hands-on. And the citizens are actually quite smart about switching between systems. So if you put the bus routes near the metro or whatever, they'll happily get off the metro and get on the bus and whatever. And the connectivity to the rest of the world is modeled in a much more real fashion as well. So like you need to structure your city such that like shipments can come in from the outside world into the industrial region and then go back out quickly and not clog up the system. Mm-hmm. And the industrial also has to be able to ship to the commercial segment. So all that stuff is really tightly intertwined. In my first playthrough early on, I completely painted myself into a corner because I didn't know they were going to take the transportation so seriously. So I was just like, my roads were completely congested. I had no way to dig myself out of this hole. And then I started researching. I thought, I was like, the game's broken. Like, this doesn't work. And then like they started reading, and it's like, no, they just take it very, very seriously. Yeah. So like, you really have to think about multiple forms of transportation. So if you say, well, if you put a bus on the road, that's less people driving. If you create walking paths, that's less people driving. If you create metro, that's less people driving. So you do that kind of math. But also, just in the driving aspect, you have to think about, okay, well, there's a freeway coming into my city. And Justin and I were talking about this recently. There's a freeway coming into my city. There's arterial roads that are connecting between the freeways and the neighborhoods. And then there's neighborhood roads. And all those are different mechanics. Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting with the After Dark expansion, the behaviors are different at night. Or maybe this is even with the free update, I don't know. But one way or another, you can get it so that the behaviors at night, the traffic patterns and where people go and everything is different than during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And you can fund things differently based on night and day too.
Well, it's definitely in the version that I have.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
don't know if
Yeah.
it maybe included the expansion or not, but
Well,
there's definitely 2 sliders. One has a little sun and one has a little
Yeah.
moon.
Yeah. So the developers are really super cool about providing a lot of free updates. And I think there is paid content with the After Dark thing, but a lot of the good parts of that are actually in the free update.
And it seems moddable. I think there's some way that you can like
It's a
create your
huge
own
part of it.
buildings and
Yeah.
include them in the game.
There's an
and stuff.
asset editor built in. There's a map
Oh, cool.
editor. I mean, it's just huge.
There's tons and tons of maps posted
Immense,
online. Yeah.
And there's lots of
So if you want to play like the actual Manhattan Island, like
Yeah.
you can, like, do that.
There's a Rio map that's amazing.
Really?
It's so beautiful.
there's
yeah.
a San Francisco one.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. The community is.
Oh, let's see if you can do better housing policy than San Francisco.
Yeah, so there's one guy did it in an excruciating level of detail in San
Really?
Francisco. I mean, I think
Wow.
he came as close as reasonably the game would let him. Biggest thing we have to say, the map sizes are ginormous.
And yeah, you can like buy more plots of land, and it seems to just never end. Like I don't know, like at what point it lets you stop buying more land.
I think
but-
like there was so we didn't. Not everybody's heard our original review, but like
Yeah.
the problem with the old SimCity, the newest SimCity, is that it was just punishingly small map sizes, and you were supposed to like have multiple cities, and the load times were really slow between the different cities, and it was like almost made the game not fun to play. And even if like this game just fixed that, I think that would be enough for me. And I think out of the box, I don't know with the expansion, but when it came out of the box, you could have up to 9 tiles, and each is I think 2 square kilometers, and you could just hack a little file, and you could have up to 25 of those tiles. So it's just
Wow.
limited by your system resources basically. So you can have this huge expanse of land, and you did the thing I remember Steve talking about in the past is like the thing he liked about the old SimCity, the older versions, was that you had to solve these problems about like how do you get your people from one side of the city to the other? Like you
Right.
can't just have them all drive. Like
when it's a tiny little town,
Yeah.
that problem never even arises.
right, but once you have these like massive cities, right, it's a new problem. So it's actually possible to get there in this system. So long-winded way of saying like this is an amazing game. I like it way better. I mean, I really like the SimCity that came out, and it was just like had been nothing like that for a while.
Mhm.
And this is just many orders of magnitude better in so many different ways, and it's so much fun to play, and it's super addictive. Like even today, like I went back and played yesterday again just to remind myself like what the details were, so I could speak to it reasonably well. But even today, I was like, I had definitely prepared enough to review it, but I was like, I just want to play. Like, it's super addicting because like hours will just fly by because you're like,
Yeah.
oh, there's this new thing I can buy, and I can add this thing, and I just
Like you're shooting for some milestone. Like
Yeah.
for me, I stayed up super late playing it last night because I was having a really good time. But
Yeah.
like I was definitely shooting for like, oh, I got to cross like the 14,000 like population mark because then I get like the water treatment facility.
Right,
or
right,
whatever. Which is I kind of want to talk about that a little bit later too. But
Yeah.
like I made some strategic errors with it. It came to
Yeah.
like water systems.
yeah, which I think is really satisfying because
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
you're like the biggest thing I don't know about SimCity. I know you want to talk about this very badly. But the biggest thing about SimCity is I was never really sure how much of my input was being considered.
Oh sure.
Like how much I was really impacting the simulation,
Mhm.
and they make it very clear that very small decisions can have very monumental impact
Yeah.
in cities. Like, go ahead.
Well, one thing that took me a while to learn was that even if one thing you can get away with in SimCity that you kind of can't get away with here is that like if your citizens need some service, like garbage trucks, like okay, we need garbage trucks. In SimCity, you kind of just build more garbage facilities, and the problem goes away. And I was doing that on my game. I was like, I've got like 3 landfills or whatever. Like but everyone's complaining that garbage is still piling up. Like, what's happening? It's like the garbage trucks are getting stuck in traffic and they
Yeah,
can't make it to
yeah.
people's homes.
It
I'm
says like not enough services.
yeah,
and,
it's like, oh wow, this really changes things. It's
Yeah.
like not only do I have to have enough services, but they have to be able to reach the people that need them, which of course, like in the real world makes total sense.
Yeah.
But like you're kind of not used to having to care about that. So it really changes the flavor of the game.
I think that's because they went really deep on the transportation
Yeah.
first, and then
Sure.
they moved forward. So they have this like really sophisticated system. So I highly recommend it for me for
So
sure.
we totally boxed you out of the conversation. So you tell us.
So we should also say that I don't maybe I don't even know if you and I ever talked about this, but like 2010 or whatever,
Mhm.
Steve and I were talking about like different games and whatever, and he hadn't been playing any, as far as I remember, hadn't been playing any games at that time. And he said if there was a new SimCity, like that might change his mind. And a trailer came out, and I was like, hey, look, they're gonna have a new SimCity. He's like, okay, maybe. And we know how that went. But you should maybe just restate what you thought about SimCity.
I did like SimCity. I mean, I played a lot of hours of SimCity, like
The newest,
dozens
the
and dozens.
2013.
I mean, all of them.
Yeah.
But the 2013 included, like dozens and dozens of hours. I think I forget, but like 60 hours. I
Yeah.
don't remember. got to the point where like I had this huge region with tons of with bunches of cities. They're all connected, and then the big international airport that just takes punishingly long to finally achieve. And it was horrifically buggy.
An online only.
Yeah,
for a while
they fixed it.
And it was slow, and there were tons of problems. But I ended up, I don't play 60 hours of a game because I just like it. Like I did actually like it quite a lot. I just it went there were a lot of really frustrating limitations.
Yeah.
And so I played City Skylines just starting a few days ago. So I only played like 9 hours of it over the course of the past few days. So not nearly as many as you have, Scott. And there's some things I like a lot. Like I really like all the points you already made. Like the transportation modeling is excellent. I like one of the things that I loved was I had some coal power plants, and they like suddenly they were no longer powering my city. I checked this because like they weren't getting enough coal. It's the same problem. Like the trucks weren't getting off they weren't getting off the freeway and to the power plant. And so I got to build like an off ramp, which is awesome. You can't do it in SimCity, like and actually like I was like it was cool. Like well, it was on the wrong side. It was on the other side of the freeway.
So how did you solve that? So
I built an off ramp, and then I had to kind of loop out and then go up and over the other side and then back down again. Which is I know. So page up, page down, which is super.
You can quit the Muppets. So I was like, you can quit the Muppets.
This is awesome.
It's the best day of my life.
Yeah, it's truly amazing.
No, so seriously, it took me way too many hours of gameplay to realize you can build elevated roads.
Yeah. So
and tunnels,
which I wish I had known.
Yeah,
would have solved so many problems.
So you can make an elevator road up and over to the other side of the freeway, and then basically have a special off ramp that just directly goes to my industrial section, which is great.
By the way, side note, you can also build like in your pre-built palette of like roundabouts and stuff. There's one that's like a freeway connector that does exactly what you're asking for. It like just takes one freeway and just like perpendicularizes it.
Yeah, so you wind up with like two.
Well, it's really for intersections of freeways, right?
It's a big cloverleaf, right?
Yeah.
But you can sorry.
But so that stuff was really great, and like all the traffic modeling was great, and I spent I spent tons of times like demolishing and redoing my road system.
Me too.
Which was a lot of fun. I thought that part was really well done. And then I also really loved the huge maps, right? Like being able to go and buy more tiles, and even more than that though, like I just loved all the maps on the Steam Workshop. There's
some really
hundreds of them. They're so good, and you could finally do some of the things I loved doing in the old SimCities, just like having these really like punishingly difficult terrains to work with, where like you're on the side of this mountain and like you have this little tiny bit of land that's actually like zonable here, and then there's a sheer face, and so like I just love the challenge of having to put like tunnels and bridges and make your city work, in these like really difficult conditions, and like the Rio de Janeiro map is really great. Like there's huge mountains you have to work around and islands and stuff. And almost I was completely lost with 2013 SimCity because you had like this small set of maps you could use, and you couldn't edit them, and they weren't very interesting. And
huge amount was dedicated just to like energy, like just things that you needed
in SimCity.
Yeah. So I love all that stuff. That said, there's like a lot more in City Skylines I didn't like. That just really, really frustrated me. And I've only played 9 hours, so maybe in the end, if I play more, the good will outweigh more the bad. But I would like to be able to like rotate the clover leaf.
You have to use the right mouse.
You have to use the right mouse. And there's no way, there's no way to actually do a secondary click that I could find without like finding a mouse. I simply do not have a mouse. And like, 2-finger, no. Like control, no, nothing will do that.
Do you have the 2-finger
I built like 3 clover leaves, like that were like not rotated. Like, whoops. $50,000, $100,000, like gone. Like, delete that one. Try it again. Like I just could never. I never built one because I couldn't get things to rotate. Like, I need to like go and buy a physical like mouse to play this game. There's one more like I guess adjacent issue to the UI, which is like I found the camera controls just to be incredibly camera controls to be incredibly clumsy.
Really?
Like just even the keyboard ones. Like I wanted to like zoom up to see my city, and like there's this thing that it does where like the angle of the camera is automatically adjusted like relative to like the horizon, and it's like tied to like the distance above.
That's fairly common actually.
Yeah. It's pretty common, but like it's just like something about the algorithm is wrong.
Oh, really?
Where I wanted to like see my city and I wanted to see my beautiful like mountains in the background and stuff, and I would zoom up and I couldn't. I either stare at my city or I could like.
So there's a mode you can go into which is like
there's
landscape
mode. I know, but
really?
like I feel like I never ever fought SimCity trying to like see my city, and I was always fighting this game trying to like get a great look at my city. And I feel like that stupid like camera mode, and I can finally see things. I'm like, why do I have to go in this whole other mode. I want to plan my road system, and like I don't want to switch modes back and forth because I'm actually using this other mode to take a step back and because I spend so much of my time like carefully artistically like making the contours of my road system match the contours of like the mountains and the rivers and because I like that aspect of building cities. It's like cities as art. I think so many of the great cities of the world are designed that way. Like Canberra, Australia has this beautiful like concentric ring design that was designed based on like the surrounding landscapes, and I want to do cities like that. And I found it so hard just to see my city because I was either like way too zoomed in, I'm like staring at like a light post, or I'm like way zoomed out and I'm staring straight down. I'm like no, I want like the mountains in the background. Like why is it so hard? Like I don't know, maybe 9 hours is not enough time for me to get like intuition of, but like. I was constantly fighting the camera system the whole time. But that's not my biggest complaint, but I think it's just like, I don't know, maybe I'm just so used to SimCity's camera system, like like my entire life using it, and maybe I'm biased, but.
So wait, so you used WASD to go forward and backwards and Q and E to rotate.
Yeah, and then F and
R and
F.
T. It should be R and T.
Whatever, it's F in my case, but whatever.
In my case, it definitely doesn't do that out of the box.
Yeah,
okay.
so
I
like,
remapped it.
but like the rest of them were the same. I don't know. It did not feel very natural.
So what's your main complaint?
My biggest complaint was that the economics just felt way off and way too easy. Like I have millions of whatever their unit of currency is. It's just so much money. Like it was basically always in sandbox mode for me. Like it was never. I never felt like there was any sort of like real like I was never like waiting for it to get money, or I was never concerned about taxes. Like I turned all my policies up all the way, so I got everything you could do. Taxes were down to 3%, and I still like made like so much money that like it was in the millions, and I couldn't possibly keep pace with the income I had, and so it didn't matter. It didn't feel like there was any like challenge there. It was just so easy.
I mean,
it was kind of fun to like. I love again like. Well, there's two complaints. That's that one. That one more complaint, but like that just meant that there's a whole aspect of the game missing that I got from SimCity, where there was like, am I going to like make enough money? Do I take out a loan? Am I going to be able to pay my loan back in time? Like all these things, it didn't matter. Not enough education, level high enough. I'll just do the little education policy that makes people go to high school before they go to work, whatever. Oh, now my education problems are solved, and it costs me a bunch of money, but it doesn't matter, because I have way more money than I can possibly do with. So, and I played several different cities, and they were all like this, just like absurd amounts of money. And then every time you hit a milestone, you get a bunch of more money, given to you, and so. Like that just felt like it was just a part of the game missing.
For the record, I really liked that. Like I hated that about SimCity.
I think that's the difference between SimCity and City Skylines, at least like in very broad strokes for me. Like in SimCity, I always struggled to have any money. Like every time I play SimCity, it's mostly a game for me of like, can I not go bankrupt? Like forget planning the city. I just don't want to go broke. Like that's the problem that I always have with SimCity. And so it feels to me like SimCity is really an economic simulation that happens to include city building. And City Skylines, like I found it, it wasn't super easy. It's easy now that I like crossed some critical threshold. Like at the beginning, it was actually pretty tough to like stay solvent as a city, but then I crossed some threshold and it actually got a lot better. And now it feels like the problem is like traffic flow. And so like in broad strokes, City Skylines seems like it's a traffic simulation with city building tacked on top, as opposed to like economic simulation with city building tacked on top.
Yeah, and I do love the traffic simulation stuff. It's great. It's probably my favorite thing about it. But yeah, I like that aspect of SimCity, and it's missing here. So that wasn't great. But the biggest thing, like my biggest complaint, because it's so unfortunate given the wonderful strength of the traffic simulation, is that building roads so miserably painful in this game.
Really? Like the UI is bad for it?
The UI is horrible for it. Because I want to build these roads and have these graceful curves that match like in like rivers and other features. And you can you basically you have these tools, and they let you basically like you can do a curved road. Unlike SimCity, where there's a bunch of different like ways to make curved roads. You can make a circular road. There's a circular road tool, and there's a few other ones, and you can snap to various angles. Here you always just draw the tangent, which is okay.
By the way, there's mods that allow you to have different drawing tools.
Can you do like flat out like Bezier curves?
I think there's one.
That might be nice. I may not install these mods, but basically, like by default, you can just draw the tangent of the line for the curves you want to for the roads you want to have, and that's kind of okay for like the first one. So this like really like I'll spend all this time making this really like elegant road that follows the river, and then you do it again. And in SimCity, they will like SimCity has this feature where it'll look at adjacent roads and it will give you these guides that are based on the adjacent roads, so you can make these beautiful, complicated roads and have them exactly be in parallel.
Yeah.
There's no such tool here, is so frustrating. I spent like 50% of my time in this game deleting, demolishing, and rebuilding roads over and over.
Are we talking about curved? You're talking about curved roads?
Yeah, curved
roads. Oh, so
roads.
you're like 2 sets of curved roads. That are
Yeah,
together.
yeah. Because I mean, you want curved road, then you want, and then like in a real
you're
city,
building
the
like a
next
highway.
curved road would actually would actually map the curve of the first one.
You know, I found the snapping is a little off, like just by like 1 or 2 degrees, but it like kind of like makes my eye twitch a little bit because I'm like, I want roads that intersect exactly 90 degrees, and it's actually like shockingly hard to do that somehow.
So
like,
I don't know if it's a bug or it's just the way that it designed the engine, but like, there's like the algorithm for snapping is not like it's there's a little bit more to it than it probably seems on the surface. So like it's not just on the map grid.
yeah,
So it like takes intersections to account.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So like sometimes what I do, and maybe this is a bug or I don't know, whatever, is I'll overshoot one road a little bit.
I started doing that too.
Because then it doesn't, I think it's trying to prevent you from snapping to the wrong thing. I didn't find it a big problem.
I feel like even when I do that though, it doesn't quite line up. And so like in the corners of the intersections, the like zoning grid is like all broken and like jagged because like it's not perfectly 90 degrees. And I'm like, there was no other intersection. There's no nothing. It's like, no, we just decided you're just not getting a nice corner. You're just like,
So
okay.
here's the thing. I don't think 9 hours is enough time. Like I definitely was like, even now I'm discovering stuff that are like sophistication in there that I didn't know about. Like just because I picked it up again. Some of that is because there was the DLC stuff. I knew mechanics in it. But like my memory of your like description of how SimCity went, particularly when you went and build the different regions, is that you basically said, I'm not going to play it again. So I don't know if that's coming across now, but to me it seems like you would play this.
I would keep playing it. I mean, like at the point where like I felt like I put so many hours in SimCity and I achieved my goal, which is like a completely filled region with all the cities built and the big, big monument build and all that stuff. And then,
but it didn't work. I remember you saying like they didn't actually like.
Yeah,
the system didn't work.
They didn't
the way
actually
as
use the airport, and tourists didn't come like they were supposed to.
They visited the oil fields.
Tourists actually they did come. They all went to the oil field city instead of. And so I wasn't getting my tourists from my other cities, the high wealth tourists. So I thought, okay, this international airport, this is going to be the way. Once the airport was done, sure enough, some high wealth tourists started showing up. But instead of going to the tourism city, they went to the oil field. The oil field city instead of my beautiful tourist city.
And it could cheat pretty bad. Like you could set up a garbage city and never go back to it.
Yeah.
And it could just infinitely.
I mean, it's horrible. But
like,
I mean, like,
if you ever opened it, you get all these problems, but just don't open it.
Yeah. So like, SimCity there were tons of problems, but like, I built beautiful cities in SimCity. Okay. They were a little too small, but they were gorgeous.
Okay.
The roads did the thing I want the roads to do, and I wish they could have been a little more challenging in terms of like the terrain. But in the end, I could zoom out with the camera controls that worked, and I could admire the city. I just love just like staring at the city. It's beautiful, and just watching it work, And I zoom out and I see, oh, these roads are not aligned, and I'll demolish the same area of the map over and over again. I spent 9 hours. I probably spent most of the time just demolishing and rebuilding roads. It's ridiculous. I mean, my city is way smaller than it ought to be for 9 hours because I spent almost all the time just demolishing and rebuilding roads, and I couldn't get them to like.
What's population in your city right now?
It's like 20,000.
See, I kind of feel like I've plateaued at 20,000. I just can't get more into 20,000.
No, so I really honestly think I strongly recommend you keep playing because a lot of the interesting parts of the game only happen past 100,000.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of I think
it's so slow though. I feel like the pace of the game is so slow because it's so slow for me to build my city out because the tools are so bad for building.
So you might be right, but either way, like let's say they are bad, you will get better at it. And I'm confident in saying that if you
should get a mouse.
Jesus Christ, get a mouse. I think if you get past like say 50,000 people, you're going to discover so many things that you really like about the simulation that you will overlook the camera controls. I think. Like here's the thing: today you have a choice to play SimCity or City Skylines. If you were going to sit down and play, which one would you play? You haven't played SimCity in a while, and I suspect if you went back, you would hate it. I'm pretty sure you would because it was really frustrating having the tiny map size.
I think that's true. I mean, I certainly would play City Skylines just because like I haven't explored the game as much, so I'd want to go see more and give the benefit of the doubt. And
I just want you to keep trying because I wouldn't be suggesting it if I didn't think you were going to really like it long term.
I mean, there are things I like about it a lot. I'm
just give it a little bit. I'm just saying.
All right.
Usually we recommend to our audience. This time I'm recommending to Steve Barman. I really want because I like legitimately 45 hours, and I'm still discovering better ways to do things that are very satisfying.
And do the buildings? Do you think they get more visually appealing as time goes on? 'Cause I feel like there's one aspect of it like of the UI of the game being really bad, but the buildings like aren't terribly compelling. Like, I feel like the buildings in SimCity, many of them were beautiful, and I would like. And one of the things that I wanted is like as my stay progressed, I get these more and more beautiful skyscrapers that would be created, and that would be part of the reward. And do you get that here? Do you get like the beautiful skyscrapers?
Justin
like,
looks like he wants to say something.
I'm very curious to hear the answer, because I have the same complaint, which is that I felt like in SimCity, it felt like it was easier to get a cooler looking city.
Yeah.
And in City Skylines, it feels like, and I've like I said, I've kind of plateaued at 20,000 people, and I'm honestly not sure why I'm not getting any more. And I'm just kind of wondering, like, do I get cooler looking skyscrapers if I get more people? Because I already have like high density stuff.
So so a couple answers. So first off, the DLC pack has more building variety. First thing. Secondly, I mean, I haven't seen your city, so it's sort of hard to like diagnose them without seeing them. I'm seeing kind of a tallish building. Yeah. So we should all
bring our laptops over together, just like compare.
So the high density. So you all have high density everything. Yeah. So you have like office building and like high density. Yeah. Okay. There are quite. And did you build all the unique buildings?
No.
Okay. There's quite a lot of variety in there.
I've got the Statue of Liberty, which you can't build on water, by the way.
That's the entire point.
I know. I was like, because I'm like next to a body of water. I'm like, oh man, this was so cool. Put the Statue of Liberty out there. It's like, must be built roadside. I'm like, the Statue of Liberty is not a roadside attraction. What are you doing here? It's
you haven't seen the one in Vegas.
Or something, right? It's like
there's way more unique buildings than there are in SimCity.
Yeah.
So like and they're like unlocked.
You build a St. Louis Arch.
Yeah, and there's like 8 pages of them. So like I think that's hang on. I'm still answering. The other thing is there is a ridiculous number of downloadable buildings from the Steam Workshop. And I think that's really, like, again, remember, 17 people. There were hundreds of people. So I think really what they said is, okay, we're going to invest. This is me speaking on their behalf. Maybe this wouldn't be their statement. But I think they said, we're going to invest in the engine.
Yeah.
And we know that people are going to go in, and even one of the ex-Maxis art directors like went in and has been making buildings for Skylines. And they're really, really good. So I think they realize is that their job is to provide the platform. And they will, like in the DLC pack, continue to provide more content, but that's what the community actually can do.
Yeah. Are these functioning buildings? Like, can I demolish one of my skyscrapers in my office, district, and then put one of these other things here, and it is actually a functional office building, or is it just like a big empty monument?
So like in the After Dark thing, we totally forgot to talk about the districting because it's such a huge part of the game.
Oh, that is interesting. Yeah.
So in the After Dark thing, if you zone something as leisure for nightlife, like you're going to get a whole different set of buildings than you would have otherwise. Sure. So the zoning actually makes a really big difference. Yeah. If you just do generic industrial, you're just going to get factories or whatever. Right. But I did a whole bunch that were like farms.
Me too.
And like forestry. Yeah, you can get a whole bunch of variety there. So I think my answer overall is, if you do the minimum level of input and time investment, you're going to get very generic stuff.
Yeah.
If you do anything beyond that, download DLC, zone things, add unique buildings, you're going to get a hell of a lot more customization.
Well, I mean, it's not the customization I'm talking about. I want to know, like, is it beautiful?
I think it is. I mean, it's subjective.
Sure.
Like, I mean, to me, like the unique buildings are the really beautiful things. Like the other ones are like visualizations of data in a way. But I think like the bridges you can build are very nice, and I think the monuments you can build, and there's a hell of a lot of really gorgeous stuff that you can download from the workshop. That's cool. Yeah, I don't.
Can you build like?
You can build your own, by the way.
The like the bridges, you get like this. You get like the kind of bridges you get seems to be based on the number of lanes. Does that change in the expansion? Like I wanted like a relatively small bridge, but I wanted a suspension bridge. I didn't want like an ugly like.
I think the suspension. I haven't narrowed down exactly how you get a suspension. I think it's the distance of a single run of it is how you get a suspension bridge.
So it has to be a long bridge to get a suspension?
Yeah, like the number of pylons.
I just drew across, I started with the single lane or the 2 lane.
If it's a highway. If it's a highway, it's a
well, like, but the 6 lane one is a suspension bridge. But I didn't need 6 lanes.
It's not the type of. I mean, maybe the type of road is one of the factors, but it's also like the distance for any one run of road. So if I start here and I go here, I may not get, I'm going to get 2 or 3 pylons, and I may not get a suspension bridge. If I start here and go here, I will definitely get a suspension bridge. Yeah.
I really wish this thing you could control. I mean, given how much time
you can. But I think you want to switch or whatever, I guess.
But like in SimCity, it's like that's literally like one of the options.
To choose. Yeah. It feels like an odd mission here. I mean, that's so focused on the transportation that you can't choose the kind of bridge. Because I'm like, aesthetically,
I think from their perspective, the number of lanes is far more important than the style of construction.
Yeah.
Right?
I find I too often get a suspension bridge when I don't want it. So I have to back it off. Like I have to stop and put a closer stop in the bridge.
So if you're covering the same physical distance, but you like click 3 times, you won't get a suspension bridge.
Yep.
But if you do like one really long one, then you'll get a suspension bridge.
So so there's a lot of mechanics that, like, we didn't even talk about this, but so districting is huge. Like you can set policies, you can set the type of industry, you can set the type of commercial.
That for sure, yeah.
You can something else that I don't know if you guys hit, but like you can have like train traffic jams that it took me a while to resolve. And like
I haven't started building any train stuff yet. I have it available, but I haven't played with it.
Yeah, my plot I have doesn't have train tracks on, which is unfortunate.
Oh yeah, you haven't started the game. I mean, like
seriously, like 9 hours of demolishing roads and rebuilding them again.
Well, okay.
No, you may be a bit persnickety about your roads.
But the thing also, like, it would not surprise me at all if there was some mod that changed the drawing mechanics of the road. We didn't even talk about that, but they have huge investment in the API to actually support mods. And there's tons of things that don't just change the game content, but actually change the way that you can play the game. There's things that show you like overlays of traffic simulation, so you can see where people are coming from and where they're going to. I tried that one for a while. And things that'll show you like that'll change like the color of the roads or like massive. It's not just content. There's like things that change the behavior of the game.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try that. I mean, that's my biggest complaint. The soundtrack, by the way,
I turned it off.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's so weird because like in the deluxe version, I think I didn't buy it, but I think you did. Like they included it as like as MP3 files, or whatever. But like I was like, oh, it must be really good. It is not. I mean, it's okay, but it sounds eerily to me like the soundtrack to Star Trek Generations, which is also not a great soundtrack. But I think like it's basically that soundtrack, but like just but repeated over and over and over again. Like this.
Yeah, it's monotonous. Yeah, I just turned it off.
Yeah, I haven't listened. I honestly don't notice the music in most games, so it doesn't really occur. I honestly play a lot with just the sound turned off completely.
The sound effects are great though. I think you're missing out if you don't.
Yeah, the sound effects in general are fine. Just the soundtrack is not great.
A lot like my phone, my laptop spends most of its time muted. I don't care for most sounds that come out of electronic devices. So I just don't.
Podcasts?
That's different. Yeah.
I have to say, so that you guys haven't played it, but like one of the things that they changed in the download content thing that wasn't there originally is that like the property value of the shoreline is higher, but with a major risk of flooding, which I did not discover until yesterday.
So I also discovered
and there's this whole pier mechanic that you don't have, I guess, if you don't have the paid expansion.
So if you buy the expansion, is it another game or like what is it?
No,
like,
no,
I mean,
it's just more like
just more features of the current game.
Yeah, so you just go to Steam and you say, do you want to buy the expansion? It's $10 or whatever. And then the next time, I think it might actually be in the game bundle. It's just not the bit isn't flipped for like purchased.
Oh,
so when you launch it, because there was no download time for me. And next time I launched it said City Skylines After Dark, which is fine. Nice. Yeah. But yeah, there's all kinds of like there's the zoo, there's like there's taxis.
Taxis are going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, there's International Airport, which I think you pay $10 just for that, I would think. The airport stuff is fun.
Do you get to build out the airport, or is it just like a thing you plop
I haven't placed it. I don't know. Yeah. If it's anything like I was actually surprised how much sophistication there was in the waterfront stuff.
Oh, really? Because I'm close to unlocking the ship stuff, like building a harbor and like.
Yeah, it's at like 24,000 people.
Either you have the paid thing. I thought that was part of the paid thing, but maybe I don't know. But there's like the fishing pier and like stuff like that.
No. I think
it's not that. There's just two. It's basically like
the cargo pier.
Yeah, there's like a cargo one and a not cargo one.
Oh no. So in the paid pack, there's like an entire like page of stuff.
Oh wow.
So it's like fishing pier and like jet ski rental place and like restaurants and like this whole thing that you can put only along the shoreline.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about this, but like you can if your road systems are backed up from like transportation or whatever, you're too far away from the freeway, you can use like the shipping lanes. And there's a new thing in DLC, which is like a port, which is like, there's some technical term for this, but it's like the place where the ships and the trains come, cargo terminal or something like that. So the ships can offload the stuff directly onto the trains.
Nice. Yeah.
That's cool. I think I might need to get a new city that actually has tracks that run nearby.
Since like
which map did you start playing on? Have you been playing have you been playing one city for your whole 9 hours?
No. I played 2 different cities. I started with I don't know, like River Run or something. Yeah. I don't know. And then
I tried that, played it for about 20 minutes, and realized I made so many strategic errors. I just had to like stop and try again.
I did that one for like maybe an hour or something. But then I'm on one that's actually from the Steam Workshop. It's I think it's called it's an island. It's beautiful, but there are no trains because it's an island.
Right.
I've been playing on the Cliffside Bay one, where you start out like with just like this little sliver of like this sort of mostly like not current flowing like body of water. Turns out.
So there's no actual current moving either direction. Oh yeah. So then you probably put like both the sewage outlet and the water pump there.
And I put them as far apart as possible. Kind of doesn't matter. Given enough time, that sewage is coming straight for your water input.
That's really unfortunate too. 'Cause I hate that they force you to go and do that, start out that way initially.
Yeah.
And because it's so ugly, like it's telling you all your water is brown. You have no choice.
Yeah. And it takes a long time for it to go away.
Yeah.
But it does eventually go away.
What happens in SimCity? I don't remember.
In SimCity, you can eventually
you dump it in the ground. I guess.
Well, the thing is that with SimCity, you can eventually. I think with SimCity, you can dump it in the river, but it doesn't really seem to affect whether or not you're pulling fresh water out of the river. But the other thing too is that in SimCity, if you build a water treatment plant, it doesn't. It can just be anywhere. It can just be in the middle of like the desert. You can build a water treatment plant.
Yeah.
The City Skylines, they still have to be on the shore.
Yeah.
And they still dump sewage into the water. They just
very,
dump
very
less,
low. Yeah.
right? And it's like, well, it's not really how it works. Right? I mean, like, wouldn't it be? I don't know. So, I don't know.
But yeah. So the other thing is that you can like hydroelectric dam is one power option, and it's very easy to flood your cities. Like there are many horror stories on YouTube.
I've just done like all windmills, and that's usually working out for me.
So so what you get, you can even see it in the bar, but like spoilers. Like once you get past you can get the high speed turbine or whatever it is, which is like it's like 16 instead of 6. Yeah, which you put on water,
which I've been doing,
and then eventually you get into solar. Although apparently in the day-night cycle, the solar doesn't fire as strong at night.
Sure.
So
clearly,
yeah.
Well, but I feel like nights were just way too long.
Way too long. I'm always at night.
I'm always at night, and I want to see my city at the night. And I'm like, wait,
you can turn off the presentation.
Oh, how?
Yeah, in the preferences, there's a thing just turn.
I'm totally gonna do that. I mean, it looks cool at night, but I feel like I spend like way more time at night.
You can also turn up the brightness of the spread of the mouse cursor light, which I just did today.
It has like a little there's like a little spotlight where your mouse is.
So
cool. Yeah, I've been playing for about 7.5 or 8 hours so far. And I've done one city mostly the whole time. But yeah, it's neat. I mean, the level of sophistication. All the gripes that we made aside, this is actually really great. And there's like clearly tons of depth to the game, which is awesome. In that way, the way there's like so much depth, it reminds me of Kerbal Space Program, right?
Yeah.
Like I've played 130 hours of Kerbal Space Program, and I still haven't done all the things that I want to do and can do. And like, that's how this feels to me. Is that like, you could play 100, 200, 300 hours of City Skylines and still be like exploring new things, right? Which is super cool. The traffic thing that you were talking about, like the on-ramps and the off-ramps, totally happened to me too, where it's like, I didn't realize that like, oh yeah, like this actually kind of matters, like the way people are coming and going. And so I sort of accidentally built my city like completely the opposite the way it should have been relative to the highways, right?
Oh yeah, I did that too.
Yeah, so it's
like I'll put houses right to the freeways.
Well, not even that, but like
noob mistake.
What did I do? So if like this is the highway coming out and this is the highway coming in, right?
Maybe on the green screen you can actually put maps.
Nice. So I built like all my industrial stuff over here.
Cold break.
So I built all my industrial stuff over here, and I built a bunch of I forget what I did over here. But basically, what wound up happening, it's commercial here and industrial here maybe. And so like all the industrial trucks wanted to leave the city, so they needed to be over here.
Yeah.
And then all the like people were coming in for commercial stuff, so they were over here, and they needed to cross each other. And so that one very first intersection in town was a disaster because like all the trucks are trying to turn left and all the people coming into town are trying to turn left and just everybody gets stuck everywhere. And I think when I finally figured out how to do elevated roads, I did like this whole crazy thing. And it seems to have mostly resolved itself. But it was like, man, I kind of wish I'd known that was going to be so important when I started planning the city, and I maybe would have like flip-flopped those.
Yeah.
And the other thing I've finally done is that I've gotten rid of actually most of my industrial zoning, and now it's like almost all office zoning.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But now I have sort of the other problem, which is that now there's even more people trying to come into town because I have to import a lot of raw goods for the stores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that there's a transition part of the game where you unlock offices. And you start putting the offices, and you've got presumably elementary school, high school, university, and then you're feeding people into the offices.
Right.
But what happens is you still have the old industry.
They don't
want to work there.
Right, because they're overeducated.
Yeah.
So you almost have to get rid of the old industry because otherwise they're just going to go out of business anyway.
But then your commercial guys still need the raw material, the building materials or whatever.
Imports.
Yeah, so there's that. And the other thing that it took me a while to figure out is that like sometimes, so using unidirection roads, I can't think of them.
One-way roads. Unidirectional. You mean one way?
Using one-way roads is like pretty critical, like moving people through the industrial area, at least I found.
Oh, really?
But like you can paint yourself in a weird corner where like, guy A is at the industrial thing, he wants to get to commercial over here. So he'll do this, like he'll do whatever he has to do, like get on an off ramp, go down the freeway, go
a
into another
U-turn.
city, come back in, and like you'll start to like, because you can click on the individual guys and see where they're going,
Right.
and like click on their destination. It's like, oh my god, what was I thinking? You know, and then
know,
you can start like
I wonder, is there a mod maybe, because like it just shows you the destination, but doesn't show you the route they're planning on taking.
no,
It'd be
there's-
interesting if there's
there's
a way you could see the route.
It's like traffic manager or something
Yeah.
like that, where you can have like show me all the traffic flow, show me this guy's
Yeah.
route.
Oh, cool.
That's a mod.
Yeah, from
Okay.
Steam. Yeah.
That's cool.
And there's like three modes. One I think is like everything. One is this particular guy.
Right.
And then another one I think is you can click on buildings and show me the routes to this building.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's just I kind of knew that was going to be a thing because I'd like read reviews of it too. So I'm like, okay, I'm kind of prepared for traffic to be a big deal. It's a way bigger
Yeah,
deal
yeah,
than like however big a deal you think it is. It's bigger than that. Like it's a big deal.
By the way, you can rename anything in the game.
Yeah.
Like you can name people, buildings. You can rename seagulls.
Seagulls?
Yeah. You can name dogs or
Bob
anything like
the
that.
seagull?
Yeah. And there's all kinds of like there's like bike paths, there's like bus lanes, there's like walking paths, and they'll use all this stuff.
Yeah.
So
I built one bus line, and for some reason the bus depot seems to be like a problem child for me traffic wise. Like wherever I put the bus depot, that's gonna have bad traffic. Like
because they have to get there.
oh yeah, because the buses are constantly coming and going, and so like
I mean, could you put it like outside the city, and so you have like the buses deadheading for a while?
Maybe I haven't tried that.
But so the thing I forgot to say is that a lot of times the way like the more advanced users solve problems is they go and see how actual cities are structured.
Yes.
So they'll like find like some like crazy intersection. They're like, oh, that might work. And like there's these design patterns that have emerged from those things, and people have like either made them like downloadable things from Steam Workshop, or they've just crafted them themselves. It's an interesting like little cottage industry, like translating real world stuff.
I've heard like sort of through the grapevine the same way that like Kerbal Space Program kind of like teaches you like orbital mechanics. This also kind of teaches you like civil engineering, where it's like, oh yeah, it turns out like all those things that work in the real world still work in the game, right? Both for for both.
I've definitely found myself more like sympathetic to like civil engineers and like traffic management and everything.
Right.
It's like, oh god, this is the worst because you have to have an off ramp coming from your industrial and it's
Right.
like,
Yeah, I haven't done a lot of one-way roads in the game because in real life I personally detest one-way roads. But like apparently according to like all the notes in the gameplay, like one-way roads can help alleviate congestion. I'm like, yeah, but your citizens want to kill each other.
I totally, and no lie, the single biggest impact on my actual life
Yeah.
that this game has had is I totally understand one-way roads now. Like why they have to be present.
Speaking of citizens, like, what do you guys think of like the little tweeting thing they do?
Oh yeah.
I kind of wish I could turn that off.
So you can't.
It's always the same things. It's like, oh, my vacation got extended. Can you like water the plants?
Or, like, my
is
cat
it
was
ever
just
not
saved by a smoke
extended?
detector. It's like, stop, I know.
So you can either turn it off entirely,
Yeah.
or you can have it just not auto expand, which I have it on, not auto expanding. But
I kind of
it's
wish it would only tell you the things that are relevant.
Yeah.
There's a mod for that, believe it or
Because
not.
I mean, it's like for the first 10 minutes, it's cutesy to see the tweets, and then it's like I really just want to know what the things that are like important.
There's a mod for that, but it's hilarious because the developers didn't take it out of the game, but they sell mugs that are like, give me a chance, or like, I have something else to tell you. Like they're in on the joke.
What?
It's like part of the culture now. Like they know people don't
the
like
fake
it.
Twitter.
But they'll sell like merchandise around the fact that it's like this hated like slash loved character. Really? Yeah, you can get the cups that are the chirper or whatever it is. Yeah.
Oh wow! I think, but overall, it sounds like we all.
I don't know if anybody's listening at this point.
we all like it, right? I think we all like it.
I played it for 45 hours and I was playing it again. I
Yeah,
love this game. This
I
is one of my
like it.
favorite
I'm
games of the year.
gonna keep playing it for sure. I mean, I have like some quibbles, but like overall, I kind of feel like I'm still like scratching the surface. Like I kind of want to go watch some like let's play videos and see like how the pros are playing it, because I do that with Kerbal Space Program too. And it's like,
except for on the economics, so it's just like it rolled over and it was,
I appreciated that though.
I did too.
I hated that part of SimCity.
It's not fun.
Yeah, I know. It's like I want to do like I want to play SimCity, not play like budget officer at the city hall. It's like because I just don't care. Like, I mean, I do care in the sense that like I don't want to play in sandbox mode.
I don't know. I'm probably also weird that I like that aspect of SimCity. You know, like it just
I just like it never made sense to me. I felt like the thing that I struggled with SimCity is that it seemed completely inscrutable. Like I don't know. I had this problem with both SimCity 2000 and the latest SimCity that we reviewed. Is that like there was no clear connection between like the levers I had to pull and what came out of the economic model. Like it was just completely foreign. And like with this, it's also a little foreign, but at least money comes out, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like I still don't understand why it goes up and down, but at least it seems to mostly go up.
Like, I think you might be sort of a better player in that respect. I think
you're good at that, and that's why it seems easy for you.
I think most people just don't have the talent or knowledge or whatever it is. Like I was perpetually running out of money in SimCity.
Me too.
And I think that's the experience of most players, honestly. Yeah, there was a PC Gamer article where somebody built an entire city with only one family and followed their entire life cycle through, like, he worked at this one factory, only worker at the power plant. The power plant was the only thing powering the city. He zoned one square. So there was one house.
Yeah.
And like when that guy died, there was nobody else.
So a population of one, basically?
Well, like 4. It was
Sure,
like an
sure.
entire
Sure,
family.
yeah.
But he like would go all day, only person at the power plant. Power plant only existed to power his house. He would go back to the one store where the mom worked.
So I get in aggregate, we recommend it.
We need to revisit.
Yeah,
I really want
2 out of 3 people recommend it.
I will install After Dark and these various mods, and then I will give it another
Get a
go.
mouse. We'll get just a gaming mouse. You can get one of the Justins with the flames on the side and like get a gaming glove. Like,
Will you let us pick a mouse up for you?
Do you want me to like this game?
I mostly just want to see your face. When you see it.
okay, now Steve, there's an LED bank on the left side and different colored LED bank on the right side.
It's probably a mod.
Here's your power supply. It comes with a carrying case.
And interchangeable weights to change the
Oh my god.
Okay, we've done this to death.
This is enough. All right. Anyway, bye everyone.
Captain. Bye.
Remember like the wallpaper editor in classic Mac OS where you
click.
you click this giant grid of pixels that are each one's really huge. That's basically how it was.
Studio monitor. That's kind of like these things. I'm a little bit skeptical. Like that was, I don't even want to say how much that was, but it was more expensive than it should have been, and it
The
feels
soft
like
box or the LED?
soft box.
Oh, yeah.
And it should have.
Let's take some black cloth and some white cloth and stitch them together and charge $400
Yeah.
for it. And you're like, okay.
And it's not like it. It's not like it like fits really well. Like, I mean, it works. Sure. But like the
While we're
material
sitting
itself,
here recording.
it's easy. Yeah, it's easy to like just do the material part, softbox. And they, I don't know why. I don't even know why I paid it. I don't know.
City Skylines?
It is unfortunately.
Plural.
Yeah.
They're both plural. Cities.
Because it was
Skylines.
it's this unfortunate like legacy thing where they had cities in motion.
It's a Swedish thing.
Yes. Finish. I forgot to say that actually.
I didn't realize that like Tahoma isn't a font or whatever, right? It's like, I don't know, who knows, but like some font.
That was the most angry pronunciation I've ever heard.
Tahoma.
It is appropriate for a Tahoma.
Yeah.
It is a horrific font.
Times New Roman. That's why they do that.
If you have all your trucks coming in, they need to pick up a load, drop off a load.
Gonna do it again.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, now we're safe.
Using one or unidirection roads, but I can't think of them.
One way
Oh,
roads.
right.
Unidirectional.